Personally, I like to start right off the bat with reading through the entire first draft, because I find myself adding in unexpected plot lines or characters halfway through the draft, and I kind of like to pick up those pieces and figure out where they're supposed to go. I have heard this referred to as a shotgun read, and I really like that term. Its purpose is to make you see the big picture and identify the plots and themes running throughout your story as opposed to the individual scenes that need work. You're going to want a pad of paper, a notebook, or a blank Word document. I really recommend the pen and paper route because I find that it removes me from the story already on the screen and it helps me keep focused. You do not want to write down every nitpicky change at this point. As William Brohoff says in his book Write Tight, review the manuscript for large problems first and go for the smaller stuff later. You're not making note of when Jenny's sweatshirt is gray, but then a few sentences later it's suddenly red. This is to look at the story and how it's functioning. What you want to make note of are scenes that don't work, characters that are acting out of character, storylines that need more detail or earlier inclusion, when sections feel like they're in the wrong place, and other big picture problems. Also, this is not an editing or revising stage. This is merely identification. If you have a thought or an idea on how to fix the problem, go ahead and jot it down, but don't concentrate on that aspect at this time. What you want to do is read your manuscript in its entirety and look at how the plot and flow are working. This may take a day or 2 or 7, but I recommend getting through it as fast as you can, because what you're trying to do is make the connections throughout your story that your reader will see, and make sure that they're all working. Stein, in his book, Stein on Writing, suggests a few more steps before you start that first read-through. His method has been devised to cut down on the amount of times that you have to read and reread your story in the hopes that it will keep you from going cold on your manuscript. He refers to it as a triage, and there are 3 things that he tells you to do. First, examine your characters, protagonist, antagonist, and minor. How well do you understand them? Are they well defined? You want to make sure the characters aren't too autobiographical, which readers will likely find boring, and that they contain both good and bad. The best villain is a motivated human. The second step is to identify the weakest scene in your manuscript. Skim through and find the least memorable scene in the entire story. Is there a way it can be salvaged, or would your novel be better off without it? If you don't want to cut it because the scene contains an important piece of information, don't let that stop you. That information can easily be conveyed in another place in another scene. Cut it and move on to the next weakest scene. Cycle and repeat until you have no more weak scenes in your entire manuscript. The final step in Stein's triage is to jot down the 3 most important actions of the entire story and ensure that they have appropriate motivation. After this, identify the other significant actions in your novel. If the motive is lacking, figure out how you can make it acceptable and where to plant that missing motive. After this, Stein says you're ready for the first beginning to end read-through. For more information on this triage, pick up Stein on Writing. I've only read the chapter on revision so far, but I am liking it. It is easy to read and provides some great information and motivation. Check back Monday where I'll be talking about arcs and climaxes, and hey, if you've got any questions, ask away.